So, Switch 2 experience. Very well organised, well done Nintendo for organising it. All the staff were light, knowledgeable, definitely very enthusiastic about the gaming, the Switch 2, Nintendo, etc. It's like no complaints. So, the first game we played, we all got funneled into a room to play Mario Kart. Mario Kart World. Initially, it was 2 demonstrations of the Grand Prix mode. This particular variant where you had a rolling start and then you raced to a track and you did 1 lap and that was the end of the race. It's one of those cases whereby part of me thinks that 24 players is a lot for a standard sized Mario Kart track, and that by having the big run up that took like a good 2-3 minutes, you'd thinned out the field enough that the 1 lap race wasn't complete mayhem. With that said, I do hope there is an option to turn off the travelling and just do standard 3 lap races, because the couple of courses that we did see were pretty interesting, although I imagine would be probably basic mushroom cut tier stuff. But yeah, it's one of those cases whereby you're gonna have to go elsewhere if you want like the advanced tech. If you want the opinion on I did like get a couple of sneaky opportunities to try the whole ground trick system, where you basically hold down drift while you're driving in a straight line and eventually get the blue sparks and the ability to do a trick, which I have seen Mario Kart YouTuber, I forget his name, compare it to how wheelies worked in Mario Kart Wii, and from what little I've done of it, that seems like a reasonable comparison. Yeah. So basically we got to do 2 races, and then we got followed into the main free play area, and the first thing I did was queue up for the Mario Kart World booth, which was doing a 24 player knockout tour. This was the big online mode whereby you do 6 of those point-to-point races. So you race to the start line of 6 different tracks, and at each start line, 4 get knocked out. So start with full field of 24, and then starting line for the second destination, that the first 20 continues on to the third destination, and so on and so forth until you have 1 winner. And I thought that this was surprisingly entertaining. Like, I'd spent a fair amount of time in the first stage basically getting beat up, and so wound up being in like 20th, 21st, and this was all 24 moves were connected to the same server. I don't know if it was like a proper LAN environment for the demo, or if it was like some connected to some Nintendo server. I did see some slightly suspect netcode, but it's like, it's a party mode. The comparison to Battle Royales is probably fair. It's the sort of mode where I can see will be very popular online, and the Mario Kart hardcore just stick their nose up at it. But yeah, traversing the world, navigating through the open world. While we were waiting for everyone to set up, there was actually a brief period where we got to free roam. So I actually noodled around and basically found myself in a obviously Boo-themed haunted mansion type level, and I saw like what looked like a couple of start lines. So maybe multiple tracks on a similar environment, possibly. Don't know. We'll neither confirm nor deny. But yeah, the race itself, very much an extended race. It's Each section takes about 3-4 minutes, so the total race, 6 sections, that's going to be about like 20-ish minutes in total. And yeah, my particular run, I wound up finishing 8th, which, as I said, considering I spent a good chunk of the first leg of that race down in like 21st. The golden mushrooms seem particularly powerful, since I get the impression that Bullet Bills got a fairly significant nerf, but golden mushrooms haven't. They're still very much they were my ticket to going from like 20-something to like top 10 fairly regularly. In this case, every time I'd go with mushrooms, like, pretty good going. Lots of overtaken. Happening with the power of the golden mushroom and me bashing the L key. So yeah, next I also tried Donkey Kong Bananza, and I know Eurogamer in particular has been comparing it to Super Mario Odyssey, and on the high level surface, the entire idea of collecting multiple golden bananas without getting kicked back to a hub world, like you do in Super Mario Odyssey and not like you do in any previous 3D Mario game. It's a bit surface level, because I honestly thought the one level, well, there was like an introductory level and then the one demo level, and I thought the demo level reminded me more of Super Mario Galaxy. You know how, and I suppose it's because the direction up is kinda irrelevant because of all the destructibility. You can go up, down, left, right to a point. There's some blocks that are impervious to your punching, so you have to work out how to blow them up in other ways. And there was also challenge rooms, which remind me of you know how some of the shines in Super Mario Sunshine was in like their own dedicated platforming area with moving platforms and various hazards. Remind me of that. Yeah. No, I was into it. Like Donkey Kong Bananza, very much like Mario Kart World. I played enough of both games to conclude, yeah, they are very much up to Nintendo seal of quality. I will probably purchase them sooner rather than later. Well, in my case, I'm going with the Mario Kart World Bundle for the Switch 2, so that's digital code comes in the box, so I'm sort of there. Donkey Kong Bananza, I'm not going to say I'm definitely going to be there day one, but if I can find a decent pre-order offer, I know there's been retailers over the past few years that have made, 20-25% off discounts on new Nintendo first-party games while in like the last couple of weeks of pre-orders. So since this Donkey Kong Bonanza is going to be like the flagship Wave 2 game that's going to be released a month after the Switch 2, I suspect there may be some retailers competing on price. We shall see. But yeah, I'm definitely going to be getting Super Mario Kart World, and yeah, you are going to see some streams of that here. I was wandering around the booths, just orientating myself, getting to know the lay of the land, and I got pulled over. We've got a family of three, wanted to play Bowser Live, looking for a fourth person. Do you want to join? I was like, sure. I'm not sure what's my favourite demo in the show. I do know what my least favourite demo is. Bowser Live did come across in the direct as iToy Revival, to be polite, and kinda cack, if we're not being polite. And yeah, it definitely reminded me of the sort of thing, as I said, the iToy was trying to promote. It would be a quarter of a century ago now. Yikes. But yeah, Now, I will say I am like 95% confident Nintendo's using RTX green screen for the virtual green screen, since it did remind me experimenting with RTX green screen offline, and it was like, it's very good until it slips up a little bit and then it fixes itself pretty quickly, which does actually give me a lot of confidence. They're using RTX for green screen. I think it's very reasonable that they're also going to be using RTX noise cancellation, and that is pretty much gold standard noise cancellation. I think if that's what's happening and Nintendo is going RTX Broadcast Suite for their voice and camera stuff, then I think actually people are going to be pretty impressed. The problem is they probably should use it in stuff but better than Bowser Live, which, yeah. I don't know, a part of me wonders if Sony looks at it and goes, I wonder if we can revive the iToy source code that they keep in their vaults and make it accessible to a new audience. Can't imagine they'll bother, but it's a vault. But yeah. So I haven't really talked about what the game controllers are like, because ergonomically, it's very much a continuation of the first Switch. It's a situation whereby, yeah, the Joy-Cons are longer to accommodate the larger screen, and I know other people prefer it. I'm like not too fussed. I did actually get a bunch of handheld playtime. I was like played 4 demos handheld and also 3 demos in mouse mode. And my conclusion is I'm 100% gaining grip, since I know for Switch 1 I primarily played it in handheld mode, and I used one of the early iterations of the Satisfy grip for most of my Switch 1 playtime, and so I am probably going to wind up doing the same, honestly. Maybe not Satisfy, but maybe like one of the D brand grips, or is Skull & Co still around? I don't know. But the point is, I am going to definitely get something, because, again, I played a bit of it. I played about an hour total, and for like 15 minutes here and there over the course of a few hours, it was fine, but it's just something that I can't imagine I would be wanting to spend like multiple hours in handheld mode, or indeed in mouse mode, without some sort of attachment. So, yeah. Speaking of mouse mode, DragxDrive, or DragxDrive, it's one of those ones where the X is silent, or, you know, the Wii basketball game. I'm honestly not sure what to make of it. There's a part of me thinks that there really should be more to it than just the Wii basketball, if Nintendo is planning to like sell it in boxes. Controls are interesting, because it's like you got both Joy-Cons sideways in mouse mode, and like basically each Joy-Con emulates one of your hands, right? So you take your left hand to push your left wheel forward, your character goes right. And if you want to go straight, you have to take both hands and push both wheels forward, right? And it's this whole left hand turns character right thing, and right hand turns character left thing. That is, I think, what trips up a bunch of people. There's a part of me that wants me to actually swap, so the right Joy-Con was in the left hand and left Joy-Con was the right hand, and that might be a bit better, but yeah, it's a case of I didn't. But yeah, the actual gameplay itself, I mean, it's 3-on-3 basketball. It's very obviously inspired by Rocket League, with how there's an enclosed arena, and there's ramps on each side of the arena, so if you pick up some speed and rush towards the end of the arena, you'd go vertically up rather than out of the arena. What I did find interesting was that there was a admin switch to the side that had the ability to assign teams, and also had the ability to have 2 games going in the same arena. Like, you can have 12 players playing 2 games alongside each other, and presumably they'll be able to spot each other's matches going on while they play their own match, which I thought was interesting. There's a part of me that thinks in an ideal world it'll be free for Nintendo Switch Online users, and maybe there'll be some sort of like $20 DLC for some single player modes, where it's in the similar manner how Tetris 99 is. And I think like Tetris 99, there's going to be players that just focus exclusively on that and get really, really good, and like maybe there'll be like a decent sized community willing to play, because I don't see there being $50 worth of game in there as it currently stands. Like even $20 would be pushing it, but we'll see. I also did play Metroid Prime 4 in mouse mode, and it's like, game definitely held up. There was like the one example of mouse mode play where they were also trying to make use of the A, B, X, Y buttons. As I mentioned, DragxDrive was entirely motion controlled. I also played Civilization 7, and they decided to make it so that mouse mode only had left click and right click. Metroid Prime 4 had like both like left click for beam weapons, right click for missile weapons, but also like buttons for the morph ball and for scanning and for dashing. And it's one of those cases whereby the whole pressing buttons on the side of the controller as you navigate the mouse was one thing that I didn't quite fully rock by the time the demo was over. Once I get a grip, that increased substantially the width of the Joycon. It's like, if you try to imagine holding your mouse sideways and trying to move that as a mouse, it was like, not ergonomically, it's something I can't imagine I'll be wanting to spend like multiple hours doing without a grip. But it's like, it's also something that I reckon is going to become like standard operating procedure for any first-person shooter game that implements it. Like, if Fortnite implements mouse mode, that's going to immediately become the prepared way for console gamers to get their victory royales. The mousing felt good. I think it helped because in this particular demo they were having like standard sit-down tables for both DragxDrive and Metroid Prime 4, whereas I know other events, for example, I did see Wolf Den's coverage of the New York version, and looked like it was all standing desks for over there. Metroid Prime 4 certainly looks good. It definitely plays good, although probably get used to the controls with practice, because aside from the whole mousing left click right click, the whole using A, B, Y, X, something I didn't quite fully grok by the end of the demo, but yeah. So oh yeah, I did mention Civilization 7. I did play a wee bit of it, and I was like, yeah, Civilization 7 on a big TV. Mouse mode is just like mouse only controls with left stick being able to move the camera. It's fine. Like, imagine most, well, not most, but like most a very large proportion of Civilization players on PC use the mouse 99% of the time, so it was fine. I did play the Switch 2 version of Breath of the Wild in handheld mode, and I'll be honest, I find I probably would have noticed the difference more had I went with the TV, since the booth had both options. Regarding the screen, it's a definite step up over the LCD on the Switch 1. If you're like me and going from Switch 1 LCD to Switch 2 LCD, it's going to be a pretty significant step up. Is it better than OLED? No, particularly in dark seats. It's a case of I would understand OLED owners' disappointment, but to the best of my knowledge, there's currently no 7-inch 1080p, 120Hz, variable refresh rate, HDR supporting OLED displays on the market. There's almost certainly going to be some. You can be damn sure that PC manufacturers are going to be paying the big bucks to get that sort of spec sheet onto an OLED. Nintendo would happily wait like 3-4 years for that particular supply to mature before jumping in with their iteration. Part of me understands why Switch OLED owners would hold out for a Switch 2 OLED. Part of me thinks it's going to take like a few years, and the LCD screen, I don't want to use the term good enough, but I do think for me personally the LCD screen is good enough that I'll be happy enough with it and won't feel too bad missing out on an OLED version. But yeah, Breath of the Wild handheld, as I said, ergonomically very similar to the Switch 1. Will definitely get a grip accessory of some description. Because I played it handheld, I didn't really get a particularly good grasp of the graphical differences. It's a case, in retrospect, I probably should have played on the big screen, and maybe I would have noticed more, but whatever, man. I also did play the Kirby and the Forgotten Realm, and it's like, I admit, the game passed me by first time round, and I'm not going to go out and spend like, what is it, $70 for, oh sorry, 70 euros for the Switch 2 version, but it's like, I mean, it was solid enough, it was decent Kirby action, I was like, yeah, this seems grand, no notes. I did try the GameCube I did try F-Zero GX and did like a race and a half before switching out to Mario Strikers because I realised that I was running a bit low on time. One of those cases where, again, no real notes. I also had GameCube controllers on hand for the booth. Again, it's pretty much spot on. The one thing that you may be interested in is that they did have, you know how in the Nintendo Direct they mentioned that there was a C button added to the GameCube, the Switch 2 version of the GameCube controller, there was a C button added. Pretty much something exact opposite position of the C button was a new minus button which was used to do the in-game menu for Nintendo Classics. So I thought that was an interesting addition. Oh yeah, Street Fighter 6. I did have a quick go at it, and the Pro Controller. So the big thing about the Switch 1 Pro Controller is that the D-pad on the Switch 1 Pro Controller always felt like crap. Now, I'm far from a D-pad expert, but even I can immediately tell that something was pretty badly off with the D-pad of the Switch 1 Pro Controller. I had a bash of Street Fighter 6 with the Switch 2 Pro Controller, and again, not a D-pad expert, won't be able to proclaim this as 100% great, but it was definitely inoffensive. Like, no, I didn't immediately go, something's wrong here. as a Switch 2 D-pad, Switch 2 Pro Controller D-pad, alright, acceptable. Although admittedly I am the sort of weirdo that thinks that Microsoft's D-pads for the Xbox One controller and the Xbox Series controller is like pretty badly underrated. I thought they were actually pretty good. So yeah, that might immediately disqualify me from any D-pad related opinions. So yeah, fair warning. Oh yeah, I also had playthroughs of Yakuza 0 and Hades 2, both on handheld. Regarding like handheld performance, I saw, as I said, played Yakuza 0. It's Yakuza 0. I didn't really spot what made it particularly definitive in the admittedly 10, I think it was 10 minutes or 15 minutes ad mucking around with the open world. But yeah, what I can say is that it looked sharp enough. It looked solid enough. Whereas Cyberpunk, which I'll freely admit I didn't play, but due to the fact that they were both PEGI 18 rated, they got fenced off into their own section. So I saw a bunch of Cyberpunk footage, shoulder surfing while I was waiting for Yakuza, and I thought Cyberpunk kind of looked like how it does on the Steam Deck, to be perfectly honest. In its case, I know there's been a bunch of discourse on Twitter about the power of the Switch 2 and people getting offended with Digital Foundry comparing it to the PS4. And I'm going, well, if the Steam Deck is roughly equivalent to the PS4 at reduced resolution, and the Switch 2 looked, in my admittedly inexpert and the unplaying eyes, it looked a bit like the Steam Deck version. Then yeah, I don't think Digital Foundry's too far wrong there. I suppose why I didn't really have much notes to make about Yakuza 0, because it was originally a PS4 game, and yeah, the build I played seemed grand. Like, no real like outstanding features or like big obvious problems. It was like, yeah, this is 100% Yakuza 0 running on the Switch 2, which, fine. I also did play Hades 2, and that's something I probably should bump up my priority list because, spoiler alert, I do own the Steam version already. No, Hades 2 for Switch, no, it seemed like a pretty good version, and I think that was of the 4 games I played on handheld, those were probably the I thought they looked prettiest played on handheld. Although, again, Mario Kart World looked very solid for no matter how you slice it. Conclusions. 1. I am going to stick with my Switch 2 pre-order. I do think Mario Kart World is something like a game I would be willing to play. Added in Donkey Kong Bananza, and yeah, I'll be in a situation where I can justify the purchase of the console to myself relatively easy. I probably am not going to be buying a lot of third-party titles. Like, the big difference between when the Switch 1 launched and now is that with the advent of Steam Deck and its main competitors, there is now something of a precedent of a decently large selection of handheld devices that can play Steam versions of games, and obviously that has the side benefit of also automatically working on my main rig, which means that I don't have to worry about buying the game multiple times for portable play and like, well, home console, comfy couch type play. Ergonomically, very much a continuation of the Switch 1. There wasn't anything that was like, oh wow, this is an improvement. I tell a lie, they did have a bunch of the charging Joycon grips, and I thought they felt pretty nice. And obviously, I don't know if the non-charging Joycon grip that they'll probably put in the box, I don't know if that's going to be in the similar design, or indeed if it's going to have the remappable back buttons. It would be pretty funny if it turned out Nintendo was the first company out of the 3 console manufacturers to include a controller with back buttons in the box. But yeah, ergonomically, continuation of the first Switch, I am 100% investing in a grip. Like, that's basically going to be my first accessory purchase for the Switch 2. I don't know if I'm going to bother getting a second Pro controller, even though I do think the Switch 1 Pro controller D-pad sucked, and I do think that the Switch 2 Pro controller's D-pad doesn't immediately stuck, which I suppose that makes it a clear improvement. Just don't think there's enough for me to justify investing in a Switch 2 Pro controller, knowing how I didn't really make much use of the Switch 1 Pro controller, you know. Mouse mode, I'm intrigued. It's obviously their attempt to come up with a solution. How do you get touchscreen play on while docked, and then go, oh, since we're using a mouse, we can implement it in like first-person games, like you'd expect. But also go, well, if we got 2 mice, how was it like? And evidently someone came up with DragxDrive, and yeah. The camera, nope. Seems like it's, from what little I've seen of it, it always seemed like the weakest link in the package. And the fact that it's an optional extra means that I'm probably going to be leaving that alone. Only the big problem and the big question mark is going to be how people respond to the game prices, because it does feel like a triple whammy of Nintendo increasing their standard price to the $70, sorry, £66, 70 euros that they did for Tears of the Kingdom, and then adding on premium surcharge for Mario Kart World, and then also an additional surcharge for physical versions, leading to the whole 90 euros Mario Kart World physical, which €1 game didn't fly for Sony. I don't know if €1 digital, €90 physical games are going to work for Nintendo. And it's like, I keep repeating this point, but I gotta hammer it home. I do think we're rapidly approaching the point of not just merely diminishing returns, but negative returns, where increasing the prices further just reduces revenue outright rather than any sort of increase. And I'm seeing it going, everyone knows Borderlands 4 is going to be $80. I think that's going to open the door for a $100 GTA 6, and we'll see how many publishers crash into those metaphorical rocks, because yeah, I don't think $100 is going to work for pretty much anyone else other than GTA. But ultimately, I'm genuinely positive. I'm definitely feel a lot better about my pre-order now than I did before I went, and I'm definitely interested. Definitely going to be like tracking for any pre-release deals on Donkey Kong Bananza in particular, since yeah, it's the game that I'm like most intrigued by. Maybe not necessarily most sold. That'll be Mario Kart World. Mario Kart World's going to be Mario Kart. It's like it's basically the surest bet in gaming that new Mario Kart will be good. But yeah, we shall see.